Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy, my channel's Finding Value. And if you're looking for undervalued investment opportunities, click subscribe, join the channel, join our community. Let's ride this commodity bull market higher together. I'm going to go over a uranium update. I am seeing some developments, so I'd like to share those with you. I'm going to show you some chart patterns. Again, this is financial education only. You guys are responsible for your own financial decisions. I'm just showing you some possibilities. Remember, this is statistical probabilities. This is not 100% written in stone. It is not that. And again, I'm going to kind of go over what my investment philosophy is. I buy and hold. I don't buy and sell out of these things, even if the charts look like they're going to pull back some. I continue to hold. So I use technical analysis to accumulate the cheap, undervalued assets for the entire commodity bull market. The entire commodity bull market is probably going to be between 5 and 10 years, somewhere in that range. We have a long way to go. We are extremely cheap on a ratio basis, 60 pounds uranium to 1 ounce gold. It's an anomaly in history. So we're looking at the right sector, uranium. So let's jump in. I'm going to jump right into charting in this presentation. So here we go. What I'm looking for are dark cloud covers. And dark cloud covers, what that is it's a candlestick pattern. Each candlestick is 1 day's worth of trading. 1 day, 2 days. This is 2 days worth of trading. The stock opened here, it closes here, and the stock traded throughout the day where the wicks are at and closed here. So this opened here, it was an up day, and it traded a little bit past the open and close price with the little wicks. What dark cloud cover is the next day after this up day, it gaps up in the morning. This is the opening price. It traded up a little bit, came all the way back down, and closed lower than 50% of the bullish candlestick height of the day before it. And what this is a reversal pattern for a statistical probability to go down. That's what it is. Another pattern that I want to go over is a bearish rising wedge. You have an initial rally, and then it basically goes back and forth in a consolidation period in a rising wedge. This is a rising wedge which is turned upward. This point is turned upward, and we are consolidating where the buyers are starting to equal the sellers, and an eventual breakdown occurs. And we're going to see a little bit of a consolidation pullback period. So first I want to start with uranium, the price of it itself. This is uranium price. We've been moving sideways in this sideways to up trend line channel. So we're in channel land. We're moving on up, and we're kind of about halfway through here, and we're coming back up. There's a couple of positive things that I want to point out on this chart. One thing that I notice is if you draw the trend lines in, we broke out of the trend line here, and we did come on back. The lows have been going higher and higher and higher, and we didn't touch the channel trend line again. We actually came back midway of the channel and are starting to move back up. This is signaling strength in the price of uranium. So this is what I see here. This looks pretty good to move on up and try to break out of this upper trend line of the channel. Moving on to URNM, North Shore Global Uranium Mining ETF. We have massive volume down here accumulating. We have a short-term break to the upside, and we may see this pull back a little bit or go sideways. Remember, we break out of these things and they kind of need to rest a little bit. But if we can get some tailwinds from this guy, if this breaks, we'll see what happens. Here's UEC, and remember that bearish candlestick I was talking about? That one right there, that dark cloud cover. That's a reversal pattern. We do have that pattern right here where it opened way up and then it closed down, and actually is a bearish engulfing. It looked like it might have, if it closed here and engulfed the one before it. So we have patterns that are basically, we've got the buyers and the sellers that are battling at this juncture right here. We've got the breakout potential of this guy here. We put in a bearish engulfing, which means that we could potentially pull back. And we have a fight between the buyers and the sellers up here, and that's why this pattern exists. So this could potentially pull back, and it could go higher. And the reason I say it could potentially go higher is because if you come back and look at this uranium price, this looks like it's ready to wanting to go higher. We're throwing a bearish engulfing here, which means it's on a reversal candlestick basis. It wants to go lower. And we're right here ready to try to break out of this pattern going to the upside. Which way is this going to break? I don't know. I can't tell you because I don't have a clear signal. If uranium price was coming back down, I'd say, you know what? It's probably going to head back down. If uranium price goes up and this guy has some selling pressure just today, we could see the uranium price going up, overwhelm the sellers here, and the buyers step in and push this higher. So I'm not sure exactly which way this is going to break. We're going to have to see. We're going to have to see what the market's going to do. Here's Uranium Royalty Corporation. I know some people were asking about this one. I drew the trend line in. I tried touching a couple of these guys, a couple of these, and all the way out. And it did come all the way back to 250 something, 260. That's where I was thinking it would potentially hit. Now, is this thing going to go up? Maybe. I give a maybe because whenever you have this is a hammer pattern with a nice long wick at the bottom. This is the same pattern. This is the same pattern. And usually you get these, they kind of say, hey, look, this is the end of pulling it back. Let's go up. This is almost a bullish engulfing, and then we moved higher. And then we came back, gave a nice wick reversal pattern, and here we are coming back up again, and then we're coming on down. So this potentially it could have just touched this trend line, kissed it, so to speak, and maybe we head on up. We'll have to wait and see. Here's Denison Mines. Again, we've got that bearish piercing. This is a reversal pattern to head back lower or sideways. So sideways to lower on a pullback. I put this trend line in here. You could, let me pop out real quick. You could, if you want, move the trend line here. And that would also be a valid area right there. It's probably a better spot for it to be. And we could pull back to this trend line, which is a small little pullback. But keep in mind, here's a bearish engulfing right here as well, and it just pushed higher. So the price of uranium has an impact. Money flows have an impact. And I don't know how much weight we should be putting on this bearish piercing right here. Let's wait and see what happens. If we pull back, we've got support right underneath it. So we'll see what happens. UU Energy Fuels, it's trying to break through this guy here. We do have a little bearish setup, but the candlesticks are really small. Not really sure if I would call this a bearish engulfing or bearish piercing, but we are up against resistance. We're up against that ceiling. Here's DYLLF, Deep Yellow. I do like this company quite a bit. Looks like we're putting in a cup and handle pattern. We're trying to break through this pattern here, and we might be coming down. We may kind of move around, up and down, around this resistance line. Here's LEU. I threw in this pattern here. It's running into sellers at the top of this pattern. It's trying to break out. The volume stepping in to buy it. The buyers are trying here to break this thing to the upside. They are trying. We'll see if they win. I think they will. Now, here's another interesting development. So CCJ's got that rising wedge pattern. Are we going to break to the downside, or are we going to break to the upside of this pattern? I don't necessarily know. Usually, on an ascending triangle wedge pattern like this, that is usually a topping pattern where you go down for a little bit. And it's going to kind of come back and rest a little bit and then regather itself and go higher. But I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see which way this breaks. The pattern that I'm referring to is this pattern right here. That's the bearish rising wedge. That's what it looks like on the pattern. And if you want to correlate it, it looks like this. So you can kind of see how this thing's coming on up. The good thing is, there's a couple of good things. We do have some pretty big up day candlesticks and small down days. That is usually means that the buyers are in control. So we'll see what happens here. I am not selling out. I'm not advocating anyone to be scared. What I'm looking at is we could potentially break out of this and have a little bit of a resting period. Fission Uranium Corp, we have another tightening up. Is this an ascending wedge? Maybe, maybe not. We got to see which way this breaks. I think that my opinion, which is very jaded because I know the valuations and stuff like that, I think it's going to break to the upside, but it's very possible that this could break to the downside as well. Let's wait and see what happens. It's coming very soon. Next Gen. I drew this one in. We've got another ascending wedge here. It's just slightly turned up. I'm looking at the candlesticks. We do have some big candlesticks every once in a while in here. This could roll over and come down. We've got 2 big down days here and then the smaller up days. Now, again, I am not selling anything. I don't want this to be like I'm a bearish guy. This is just a short-term little pattern, which means we could correct for a little bit. Could. We haven't broke out yet. We haven't broke the direction yet. This could very easily break to the upside. So let's be patient and watch. Here's Appiah Energy. This is a rare earth. It does have some uranium. Draw the trend lines in here. And what we're looking for are those breaks of a pattern. This is a pattern. It squeezed on up on the ceiling and then broke through. It did the same thing back here, squeezed on up, bullish engulfing, moving on higher. Consolidation pattern, moving on up and higher. So I wouldn't be chasing it here. I'm just showing you kind of what it's doing. Now, Global Atomic, remember we got the bearish. This is a bearish engulfing pattern right here. It's not a huge one, but it could pull back a little bit, just like this one. This was a bearish engulfing here, and it kind of pulled back and went sideways, and then it headed higher. So keep in mind, though, the money flows. They're coming in. And I just wanted to show you guys the patterns. You could see a little bit of a pullback. Maybe not. Remember, there's a lot of money flowing into these things. These are in the Uranium ETF. That ETF, you look at the volume on the bottom, it's a massive amount just flowing in. And I'm going to do another video on uranium. I'm going to show you the ETF. I'm going to show you all the volume at the bottom there. We'll see what's in those ETFs and what the weighting is of each of these companies. I'll go over that and release it here in a couple days. And you can see what the holdings are of the company, what the weighting is. And if money's flowing into that ETF, it's going to flow into these individual companies through that ETF. So I'll show you guys that. We do have some bearish candlesticks. It is aligning on a lot of them. Is it going to go lower? Remember, money's flowing into this thing. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But the patterns are there. And we could very well break to the upside on all of them. Let's find out. You know what to look for. We know what's could potentially come up right, in the short term. I'm not selling anything. I'm holding on. I'm not going to make the mistake like I did last time. If you guys like this content, give me a thumbs up. Thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.